Drafting the right tight end is pivotal to the early success of your fantasy team, and you're really only going to get one shot at one of these guys. So let's take a look at the consensus top 12 and see who are the best values. Sam LaPorta is currently drafted as the tight end 1 overall, coming off of a stellar rookie year with the Lions, followed very closely by the vet Travis Kelce. For me, Travis Kelce is the 1 and LaPorta is the 2. I believe that Kansas City's offense has the much higher overall scoring upside, and LaPorta's competition in Detroit is much more established than Kelce's is in KC. The biggest hesitation with Kelce is that since Kansas City is pretty much a lock for playoffs starting game 1 of the season, they may actually try to kind of coast and rest some of their more experienced veterans. I do think there will be some blowout games where in the fourth quarter we don't see Kelce on the field at all for KC. But honestly, if KC's blowing at a team so bad that they're able to rest their starters through the whole fourth quarter, it's probably in part due to what Kelce did through the first 3. Overall, I will take Kelce at 1. I think he has a much higher floor as well as a slightly higher ceiling. LaPorta is right on his tail though at tight end 2. Up next is the duo of Trey McBride in Arizona and Mark Andrews in Baltimore. Kind of mirroring the top 2 guys, we have a young, exciting prospect with big target volume last season, and then we have a veteran guy who's more established and has had more higher scoring seasons. And I'm pretty much treating it the same as well. I have Mark Andrews as my tight end 3, McBride as my tight end 4. First off, obviously McBride is dealing with major new competition in Arizona and Marvin Harrison Jr. Meanwhile, Baltimore's passing offense has really had no big additions. Rashad Bateman is the guy they're looking to as their wide receiver 2. Despite that, Baltimore is still projected to have the better scoring offense on the season than Arizona. So if my math checks out, it should be pretty easy to put Andrews at tight end 3, McBride at tight end 4. Andrews' detractors might point to his age, his injury history, or the presence of another solid tight end in this offense in Isaiah Likely. But diving into it, I really believe that Andrews' last few seasons have been cases of bad injury luck rather than him being an injury-prone player. And then I actually like Isaiah Likely as well. He's my tight end 22 this year, but I really think he's going to be employed in more of sort of a gadget role for the most part rather than cutting into the work of the traditional tight end Mark Andrews. With the dearth of other receiving options in this offense, there should be plenty to go around for both of those guys. Next up is Dalton Kincaid at tight end 5. Putting him all the way up here is definitely projecting a big jump from what we saw in his rookie year production-wise. But the situation really couldn't be any better for him to see that leap in production, and he definitely showed us on the talent side of things that he should be capable. We're going from Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis in this receiving core to Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, or maybe Curtis Samuel. That means Kincaid is going to be Allen's clear number 1 target. The only other guys on this whole tight end list that you can say that about are Kelce and Andrews. Now, consensus would probably draw the teardrop here after Dalton Kincaid, but I'm going to bump Kyle Pitts up into that elite tier of tight ends. Now, if you've been watching some of my other stuff, I'm probably starting to sound like a broken record when it comes to the Falcons, but they've showed us that their offense is going to be running out of 11 personnel this year over 90% of the time. 11 personnel is much better for the receivers, for the running backs running into softer boxes for the defense, and it keeps Kyle Pitts on the field for pretty much every play of the game. For reference, the Falcons ran out of 11 personnel a league low 17% of the time last season. As for the player himself, I am extremely confident that Kyle Pitts is going to be able to perform. He was the consensus best tight end prospect we had ever seen coming into the league, and he delivered on expectations his rookie year. It was only in his second and third year with some of the worst QB play in the league and the least advantageous system imaginable that he faltered. It should feel incredible getting this guy at an all-time discount in the best situation he's ever been in. Then I will draw my tier break before tight end 7, George Kittle. Kittle absolutely has the talent to be considered right in the tier with those other elite guys. Unfortunately, he's in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, these guys live and die on a week-to-week basis based on Shanahan's game planning. Shanahan really likes to funnel the ball toward whatever part of the defense he believes is the weakest in his opponents, and he's got elite options all over the field to try and do it. So it's not even close to a knock on Kittle's talent, just the situation. He's going to have dud weeks no matter what. He will also have some major blow-up weeks. I think he's pretty much locked in as the tight end 7, possibly even in a tier of his own. I'm fading Engram pretty heavily right now because during the Jags' first preseason game, he split time with his backup, Luke Farrell. With Engram coming into his age 30 season, this could be a bit of an indication from the Jags that they're going to try to limit his workload a little bit. That's really rough for fantasy. Then we have the guy I'm calling my tight end 8. It's Jake Ferguson in Dallas. The guys in Dallas from a pass-catching perspective are CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. End of list. Of course, Brandon Cooks will also get some looks just by default, but these are the only 2 guys that are going to be actually demanding targets in this Cowboys offense. Ferguson is also a very popular target in the red zone for Dak. Should be a ton of touchdown upside in an offense that projects to be close to top 5. Finally, the rookie Brock Bowers in Las Vegas. This is a guy that I was a little bit hesitant on drafting earlier in the season, but after seeing Las Vegas' first preseason game, I'm all in on Bowers. Second-year tight end Michael Mayers is also here in Las Vegas. He's a big part of the reason that I was so hesitant to draft Bowers earlier in the season. But as you can see, both guys got plenty of work in their first preseason game. Michael Mayer worked in basically as a traditional tight end, and then Bowers was used all over the field. Lined up inside, outside, out of the backfield. Tried out a little bit of traditional tight end as well, and he looked great while doing all of them. Overall, bumping Ferguson up to 8, Bowers up to 9, Draw on the tier, and then Evan Engram will be at the top of the next tier at tight end 10. In there with him is David Njoku in Cleveland, who was an absolute league winner for you last year. He was amazing down the stretch with Joe Flacco. And Dallas Goedert in Philly, just a really solid guy and a really solid offense. If I do miss on one of those top 9 tight ends, I'm pretty indifferent between Engram, Njoku, and Goddard. So I'll find myself punting tight end well into the double-digit rounds in those cases. All right, I think that about wraps it up for the top 12 tight ends. Let me know if I'm a genius or an idiot, and check out the profile for plenty more fantasy tips. Hope to see you guys in the next one.